There is a town in Ohio where the local government didn't just evict the residents, they erased them. The roads were sealed with concrete barriers, the homes were marked with spray paint, and today, if you look at a local map, the area is simply labeled with a name that serves as a warning: Helltown. We are raised on the idea of the American postcard town: white picket fences, main street diners, and safe, quiet neighborhoods. But there is a shadow side to this country, a side that doesn't appear on the tourist brochures. These are the places where the American dream curled up and died. We aren't just talking about economic decline, we're talking about towns that were wiped off the map by toxic disasters, government conspiracies, unexplainable disappearances, and underground fires that have been burning since the 1960s. These are the forbidden towns of America, places so dangerous, so isolated, or so bizarre that even the locals refuse to go there after dark. From the frozen tundra of Alaska, where people vanish into thin air, to the toxic wasteland in Oklahoma that killed its own children. Today, on the American Exit, we are counting down 10 American towns you have never heard of, and you probably wish you hadn't. Let's begin. The Descent. Number 10. Moonville, Ohio. The tunnel where time stopped. To understand the horror of Moonville, you first have to understand why it existed. In the mid-1800s, this wasn't a spooky forest. It was a brutal industrial machine. Moonville was a coal mining outpost tucked deep inside what is now the Zaleski State Forest. It was built for one purpose: to feed the Marietta and Cincinnati Railroad. Life here was hard, it was dirty, and it was dangerous. But by the turn of the 20th century, the coal ran out, the mines closed, and the people, they simply walked away. By 1947, the population of Moonville hit zero. The houses rotted away, the schoolhouse collapsed, the forest swallowed the streets. Today, there is only one thing left to prove humans were ever here: the Moonville Tunnel, a massive brick-lined scar in the hillside. Locals don't avoid this place just because it's abandoned. They avoid it because of the brakemen. History tells us that working on this rail line was a death sentence. The tunnel was narrow. If you were walking inside and a train came, there was nowhere to run. Legend says a railroad brakeman was drinking one night, playing cards. He stumbled out onto the racks to wave his lantern at an oncoming train, and he wasn't fast enough. For over 100 years, hikers and hunters have reported the same phenomenon. On dark nights, deep in the woods where no electricity exists, they see a swinging lantern drifting inside the tunnel, searching for a train that hasn't run since 1988. But the real fear here isn't supernatural, it is physical isolation. Moonville doesn't exist on modern GPS. If you get hurt out here, no ambulance is coming. There is no cell service. The silence in these woods is heavy. It feels like the trees are holding their breath. It is a place where history refuses to leave, even though the living checked out a long time ago. Number 9. Pitcher, Oklahoma. The most toxic town in America. Most ghost towns die because the jobs leave. Pitcher died because the ground turned against the people. In the 1920s, this wasn't a ghost town. It was the center of the world. Pitcher was the copper and zinc capital of America. During World War I and World War II, over 50% of the lead used in U.S. military ammunition came from this single small town. Pitcher helped win the wars, but the war came home. The mining process left behind massive mountains of waste rock known as chat piles. These weren't just small hills, they were hundreds of feet high. They looked like sand dunes. For decades, they were the town's playground. We have photos of the high school track team training on these piles. Families had picnics on them. Children filled their sandboxes with this material. They didn't know that the sand was laced with dangerously high levels of lead and arsenic. The consequences were slow, silent, and devastating. By the 1990s, health officials noticed something terrifying. The children of Pitcher were getting sick. Their grades were dropping. Their behavior was erratic. Testing revealed that 34% of the children in Pitcher suffered from lead poisoning. The lead was in the air. It was in the water. It was in the dust on the kitchen table. The town was literally poisoning its own future. But the horror didn't stop at the surface. Underground, the miners had dug so aggressively that the town was sitting on a honeycomb of empty caverns. Suddenly, houses started sinking. Drivers would be going down the road and the pavement would just disappear into a black abyss. The structural integrity of the entire zip code was failing. In 2006, the Army Corps of Engineers released a report stating that 86% of the town's buildings were in imminent danger of collapsing into the mines. The federal government stepped in with a buyout program. They told residents, "Take the money and run." Most left, but some refused to abandon their homes. Then, nature delivered the final blow. In May 2008, an EF4 tornado tore directly through the center of Pitcher, flattening what little was left. Today, Pitcher is a fenced-off wasteland. It looks like the surface of the moon. It is a chilling monument to industrial greed and the price we pay for extracting resources from the earth. Number 8. Centralia, Pennsylvania. The town that burns from below. Imagine a fire that you cannot see, but you can feel under your feet. A fire that you cannot put out with water. A fire that has been burning since John F. Kennedy was president. This is the reality of Centralia. It started innocently. In May 1962, the town council wanted to clean up a landfill for Memorial Day. They set fire to the trash in an abandoned strip mine pit. They thought they put it out. They were wrong. The fire seeped down through a hole in the pit and ignited a massive labyrinthine coal seam that ran hundreds of feet underground. This wasn't just a small fire. This was an inferno, fueled by millions of tons of anthracite coal. For years, the residents didn't know. They smelled sulfur. Their basements felt unusually warm in the winter. Then, on Valentine's Day 1981, a 12-year-old boy named Todd Domboski went into his backyard. Suddenly, the ground opened beneath him. He fell into a sinkhole that was spewing lethal carbon monoxide. He survived only because his cousin pulled him out. When they measured the temperature of the steam coming out of that hole, it was over 350 degrees. The government panicked. They spent $42 million trying to dig trenches and flush the mines, but the fire was too big, too deep, and too hot. In 1992, the governor of Pennsylvania invoked eminent domain. They condemned the entire town. They revoked the property rights of every citizen. They deleted the zip code 17927 from the postal system. Today, Centralia is a grid of empty streets overgrown with weeds. But if you stand quiet on a cold day, you can see white smoke rising from the ground. Experts say there is enough coal down there to keep the fire burning for another 250 years. It is the ultimate ghost town because the enemy isn't economics, it is the earth itself. Number 7. Dudleytown, Connecticut. The Village of the Damned. Most ghost towns have buildings. Dudleytown has only silence. This is one of the oldest abandoned settlements in America. Founded in the mid-1700s by the Dudley family, it was a farming community deep in the Connecticut hills. But from the very beginning, something was wrong. The soil was poor, the crops failed, but the legends surrounding Dudleytown go much darker than agriculture. Folklore claims the Dudley family brought a curse with them from England, a curse that traced back to an ancestor who was beheaded for treason against King Henry VIII. Whether you believe in curses or not, the history books show a disturbing pattern. Residents suffered from unusually high rates of mental illness. There were reports of sudden suicides. Farmers claimed they saw demons in the woods. People would walk into the forest and simply lose their minds. By 1900, the town was completely dead. The forest reclaimed the land aggressively. The area is officially known as the Dark Entry Forest. The trees here grow thick and tall, creating a canopy that blocks out almost all sunlight, even at noon. But the most common report from the few people who have trespassed here is not a visual hallucination, it is auditory. It is called the dead silence. In a normal forest, you hear birds, insects, wind. In Dudleytown, visitors report a total vacuum of sound. No animals live there, no birds sing. Just a heavy, oppressive pressure that makes you want to run. Today, Dudleytown is strictly private property. The owners and the local police patrol it aggressively. They say it is to protect the hikers from falling into old cellars, but the locals whisper that the police are there to protect the outside world from what is inside those woods. Number 6. Whittier, Alaska. The town under one roof. We often talk about small-town vibes where everyone knows everyone, but in Whittier, Alaska, that's taken to a claustrophobic extreme. Almost the entire population of this town, about 270 people, lives inside a single building. It's called the Baggage Towers. It's a 14-story Cold War-era barracks that looks like a Soviet hotel dropped onto the edge of a glacier. Why do they live like this? Because the environment outside is trying to kill them. Whittier sees some of the brutalest weather on the planet. Winds can hit 100 miles per hour. Snowfall can reach 20 feet in a single winter. To survive, the town consolidated. The police station, the post office, the grocery store, the school, the laundromat, the church, and the apartments are all inside the Baggage Towers. You can be born, go to school, get married, and live your entire life without ever stepping foot outside if you didn't want to. Children go to school through an underground tunnel so they don't freeze to death. But the isolation goes deeper. If you want to visit Whittier, you have to drive through the Anton Anderson Memorial Tunnel. It's the longest highway tunnel in North America, cutting 2.5 miles through solid granite. But it's only one lane wide. Cars have to take turns. And here's the kicker. The tunnel closes at night. If you're not inside the town by 10:30 p.m., you're locked out. If you have a medical emergency at midnight, you're locked in. It's a town that functions like a submarine, efficient, tightly packed, and completely cut off from the rest of humanity. For the people who live there, it's a tight-knit community. For outsiders, it feels like a psychological experiment waiting to go wrong. Number 5. Fallsville, Ohio. The town that gave up. Most ghost towns are tragic because they represent a loss of something great. A factory closed, a mine dried up. But Fallsville is different. It's a ghost town because it represents a dream that never happened. In the early 19th century, this spot was chosen for greatness. It had a powerful waterfall, a natural source of energy to drive grist mills and sawmills. Investors poured in. They drew up plans for a bustling industrial hub that would rival the biggest cities in the state. They built the foundations, they dug the mill races, they waited for the railroad to come. But the railroad never came. The economy shifted, the plans fell apart, and the people realized that a town without a connection to the outside world is just a collection of houses in the woods. By the mid-20th century, Fallsville wasn't just abandoned, it was dissolving. Today, if you visit the Fallsville Wildlife Area, you won't find Main Street, you won't find a post office. You'll find a waterfall that roars into a quiet pool. And if you look closely in the underbrush, you'll see the moss-covered stones of foundations that were laid 200 years ago. It's a haunting place because it feels like a glitch in time. Hikers often report a feeling of being watched or hearing the sounds of industry, hammers and saws, where there is nothing but trees. It's a reminder that in America, geography is destiny, and if the map turns against you, your town disappears before it even begins. Number 4. Nome, Alaska, the town where people vanish. We often talk about people leaving a city. In Nome, they don't just leave, they disappear. Nome sits on the very edge of the world, overlooking the freezing Bering Sea. It's one of the most isolated communities in North America. There are no roads connecting Nome to the rest of Alaska. You cannot drive here, you fly in, or you take a boat. Once you're here, you're trapped by the elements. But since the 1960s, Nome has harbored a dark statistical anomaly. A disproportionate number of people, mostly Native Alaskans and visitors, have vanished from this town without a trace. We aren't talking about 1 or 2 people, we're talking about dozens. The FBI has visited Nome multiple times to investigate what they call excessive disappearances. Skeptics will tell you it's the alcohol or the bitter cold. They say people wander out into the tundra, freeze to death, and the snow buries them before they can be found. But the locals tell a different story. They whisper about things seen in the sky, or strange lights on the horizon, or a presence in the wilderness that hunts the lonely. This mystery became so intense that Hollywood made a movie about it called The Fourth Kind, suggesting alien abductions were responsible. While the movie was fiction, the fear is real. When you walk the streets of Nome in the winter, when the sun barely rises and the wind howls at 30 below zero, you feel the isolation in your bones. The police here have a grim saying, "The tundra doesn't give up the dead." It's a town where you learn very quickly to never walk alone in the dark, because in Nome, lost often means gone forever.
Cairo, Illinois, the city that erased itself. If you look at a map, Cairo should be one of the richest cities in America. It sits at the exact point where the mighty Mississippi River meets the Ohio River. It is a geographic gold mine for trade and shipping. In the 1920s, it was booming. It was known as Little Chicago. It had mansions, opera houses, and a bustling port. Today, it looks like the set of a post-apocalyptic movie. And the apocalypse wasn't nuclear, it was social. Cairo is a tragedy of racial tension and economic collapse. In the 1960s, the civil rights movement hit Cairo hard. The white leadership of the town refused to integrate. They closed public pools rather than let black residents swim in them. The result was a boycott. The black community stopped shopping at white-owned businesses. The economy ground to a halt. Instead of fixing the problem, the business owners simply left. They packed up and moved to the suburbs or other states. Then, the railroad industry changed and the river traffic slowed down. The population plummeted from over 15,000 to under 2,000 today. Walking through Cairo now is a surreal experience. You see magnificent 3-story Victorian mansions with their roofs caved in. You see a historic downtown with beautiful brickwork, but every single window is boarded up. There are no grocery stores. There is no hospital. The city has effectively ceased to function. It isn't haunted by ghosts. It is haunted by the choices of the past. Cairo serves as a brutal warning to every other city in America. If a community turns against itself, it doesn't matter how good your geography is. You can still wipe yourself off the map. Number 2. Helltown, Ohio. The government conspiracy. How do you evacuate an entire town overnight? And why did they rename it Helltown? The real name was Boston Township. It was a quiet rural community established in 1806. It had mills, homes, and families. But in 1974, a nightmare began. President Gerald Ford signed a bill to create the Cuyahoga Valley National Park. The National Park Service decided they needed the land. They didn't ask the residents to leave, they ordered them. Using a power called immense domain, the federal government seized hundreds of homes. Families were given pennies on the dollar and told to get out immediately. But the government moved faster than the bulldozers. For years, the houses stood empty. Imagine driving down a street where every single house is boarded up. U.S. government no trespassing signs were stapled to the front doors. The town wasn't dead, it was in a coma. This visual, an entire empty town sitting in the woods, sparked the imagination of the public. Rumors began to fly. People said the government emptied the town because of a chemical spill that created mutants. They said the local church was a front for a satanic cult. They said a bus full of children was slaughtered in the woods by an escaped mental patient. None of it was true, but the vibe was so terrifying that the name Helltown stuck. Today, most of the houses have been torn down, but the roads remain. Stanford Road, often called the Highway to Hell, winds steeply into the dark forest. If you drive there at night, you can still feel the anger and the sadness of the people who were forced out. It is a ghost town created not by economics, but by a signature on a piece of paper in Washington. And now, number 1. A town that defies logic, a town that proves the resilience of the human spirit. Number 1. Monowai, Nebraska. The town of one. We end our journey with the loneliest yet warmest town in America. Monowai isn't a ghost town, it's a ghost resident town. According to the U.S. Census, the population is 1. Her name is Elsie Ealer. She's in her late 80s, and she is without a doubt the hardest working mayor in America. Because she is the only resident, Elsie wears all the hats. She's the mayor. She holds city council meetings with herself. She's the city clerk. She writes the minutes. She's the librarian. She runs a library with 5,000 books dedicated to her late husband, Rudy. And she's the bartender. She runs the Monowai Tavern, serving burgers and beer to travelers who come from all over the world just to see the town of one. Every year, Elsie fills out a municipal road plan to get state funding for the streetlights. She calculates taxes and pays them to herself. She grants her own liquor license. It sounds like a joke, but it's deeply serious. Monowai used to be a bustling railroad town, but like so many others on this list, automation and urbanization drained the life out of it. The young people moved to the cities for jobs. The old people passed away. Eventually, it was just Elsie and her husband, Rudy, left. And when Rudy passed away in 2004, Elsie became the last soul standing. Monowai is number 1 on our list because it represents the final stage of the American exit. It shows us what happens when everyone leaves, but one person refuses to let the lights go out. It isn't scary, it's poignant. It's a living monument to a vanishing way of life. From the toxic piles of Oklahoma to the burning streets of Pennsylvania, and finally to the quiet tavern in Nebraska. These are the places the map tries to forget. They are warnings. They remind us that communities are fragile. Economic shifts, environmental disasters, or bad policies can wipe a city off the face of the earth. So, the next time you look at a map, look closer. Look for the empty spaces, because sometimes the most interesting story isn't where everyone is moving to, it's where everyone has left. So, which of these towns would you dare to visit? Would you spend a night in the Helltown woods or grab a burger with Elsie in Monowai? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to know about the new boom towns, the places where the American dream is just getting started, make sure you subscribe to the American Exit. We track the migration, the money, and the map. Thanks for watching. I'll
I'll see you in the next one.